I'm going to jump back into our main panel. And I have all of these raw clips. I'm going to go ahead and hit Option, double click. It again puts it in its own tab. I like that, moving it all the way over to the left. So now I have actually 3 tabs of my media that I can easily access. I like to look at this as icons because I can then see my images. And down here, I have a little slider if I want to make it bigger or smaller to see more things. Now, to edit this in, I could load all my clips, and usually I would. I mean, normally I wouldn't cut this in an hour. But I'll go through, and I could load these very quickly and get an idea of what works. This is nice. This is people interacting. What's the moment? What's the moment that I find is special here? So, you know, she's showing her stuff, and she's smiling. Okay, that's pretty cool. So that should be my out point. And then maybe I'll scroll back here. She's showing that's my in point. I can see the duration is about 2 seconds and 18 frames. I can go ahead and grab that. I just want the video. I don't want all the sound, the background sound. And there's lots of ways to control bringing things in or not bringing things in. The easiest thing is, instead of grabbing the picture, I grab this little video icon. It only brings in the video part of the clip. Put that in right there, and I bring it next to it, and there's something called snapping, and it snaps right next to that clip. Okay, let's go ahead. We'll quickly watch that.
These days, everybody talks about...
So I can go through and put all these clips, and I'm going to do some things very quickly because I want to show you some of the control. We're probably not going to finish this. Instead of bringing the clip all the way up into my source monitor, I can, right here, scrub through it and mark my in and out points directly in my project area inside this bin and drag it there. Now, I realize I made the duration of this to be something ridiculous, 6 frames. 6 frames is 1/5 of a second. So that's a little bit too short. So I can go ahead and select that, and wherever the playhead is, I just mark a new out point. Now it's 10 frames. Obviously, I'm very zoomed in. So it's going to be 1 second. I want to show you that. So it's 1 second. I've marked it here. Drag it over. If I want it longer, all I have to do, drag it out, and now I have...
These days, everybody talks about print your work as photographers.
Okay, so that's pretty good. I'm not locked into that. I think that's long enough. I don't want it to leave the frame, the image. I'm going to grab one more picture. Actually, I'm going to grab a couple of pictures. I'm going to do something here. I'm going to go ahead. Let me click on this. And this is where you can make yourself look like you really know what you're doing. One, don't use the shots that are bad, that you never settled the camera. And two, the beautiful thing is you don't have to show them the parts of the image that you didn't quite have focus set. You know, it goes back to, if it's a still image, just crop out the mistakes, and you're good. So I like this. I like the depth of field. We see Ken again. I'm going to mark an in point and an out point. Throw that in. And I'm going to go down and look at this. And I want you to see that
these days, everybody talks about print your work as...
I think it'd be really cool if we started with kind of hanging that up. And we're not limited by the fact we've already placed it into a certain order. Lots of ways to move things around. I could drag this, put it over. I'm going to intentionally put this on the next track. I don't normally do this, but what I want to show you is when I do that, you'll notice that anything on the upper track blocks anything on the lower track. So it gives me some flexibility. You'll also notice that I have a moment where I see the scene below it. So there's some danger to that, but it's also another way of thinking that, oh, what shot do I want to use? I don't want to make the decision. Maybe I'll stack 2 shots on top of each other. I'll come back later, and then I can look at each of them individually. As a matter of fact, there's a great little feature that if I have this shot, and I'm going to do one thing here so I don't get that little flash frame, I'm going to stretch it out a little bit, and now it covers it completely. But if I don't want to see that, I can right-click on it and uncheck Enable, and now it still's in my timeline, yet it's invisible. Okay? So I can go back and do that. So that's kind of a nice thing I can do. So I have this. But you know something? I just want to flip-flop these. And there's lots of ways to do that. I'm going to bring that down. And I've changed my story. What is my first image?
These days, everybody talks about print your work as photographers, and nobody does. And so
we're establishing a story here of, you know, what's happening, what she's talking about. I see print your work. That was very serendipitous that I should put that clip. You know, you can listen and make notes. But this is how you start developing what you're doing, and you're throwing it onto a timeline.